Hello YouTube, I'm Andrew Does Hair. You can find my work on Instagram at Andrew Does Hair. Today I want to answer the question, why does your barber suck? Whoa, 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 calm down. I'm not actually saying your barber sucks, and I hope you came to this video after seeing the title so you could defend your barber because he's amazing. I get a freaking ton of comments and questions where people are frustrated because their barber sucks. I'm not saying their barber sucks, they're saying it. And I had somebody the other day ask me why that is. Why do I keep finding bad barbers? And as I went to write a response to him, I realized I do kind of have opinions on this, that my response to this guy kind of wound up becoming more or less mental bullet points for this video. I guess subconsciously I've had kind of an idea about why this might be. Now, I've been cutting hair for over 20 years. I'm very involved in the industry. I do tons of events and trade shows, and I've been doing that for years. And obviously, like on Instagram and here on YouTube, I'm connected with a lot of barbers and stylists. And so when I hear people say like, dude, I just can't find a good barber, I've kind of been like, yeah, I get it. And so in this video, I want to sort of talk about why I think that is. Maybe it can help you to navigate finding the right barber for you or a better barber. As with most of my videos, I'm sitting here just kind of chatting casually as though you were sitting in my chair getting a haircut and asked me this question. You're in my chair and you ask, why can't I find a good barber? Well, I don't know. You walked into the wrong shop. No, truth be told, I'm not the best hairdresser there is for a lot of people. If the wrong client's in my chair, I could be the worst there is. It's all about matching the right person to the right kind of stylist. But mostly I get these kinds of comments on videos where I'm problem solving hair, where I'm like, not like, here's how to do the latest trend haircut, but like, hey, here's what to do if you have a cowlick, or here's what to do if you have a flat head, or here's how to tailor a haircut to this particular kind of head, or this sort of thing. I get comments on those videos, like, why doesn't my barber know how to do this? Or a lot of times when I do sort of opinion pieces that are like recommendations about if you have this kind of hair, maybe you should do this, or if you have this kind of lifestyle, maybe you should do that. People go, why doesn't my barber understand this? The first thing that comes to mind is barbering, hairdressing. I kind of look at them the same, even though they're ever so slightly different. But in both fields, there's a very high turnover rate. When I was in cosmetology school, they told us at the beginning of like the first day of class, they said, hey, by the way, there was like 30 of us in the room. They were like, by the way, 10 of you aren't going to graduate here. You're going to quit before you even finish school. And they were absolutely right. And they said, also, by the way, in 5 years, maybe 2 of you are still going to be cutting hair. And they were freaking right. I did a quick internet search right before doing this video just to find out like how long is the average barber career. And one of the responses I found said 3 years. Some of them said 5 to 10 years, but so I was finding answers all over the place, but I saw as short as 3 years. And this kind of rings true for what I see. When I'm at industry events, I meet a lot of people who are brand new and they're at these events like all hyped up because they just joined this cool industry. The people who have been doing it for 20, 25, 30 years, they're the ones on stage at these events. And so if you go grab 100 random barbers in a bunch of random shops, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to be kind of a new barber. I personally know, I mean, dozens and dozens of people who cut hair for 5, 10 years and then walked away from it. And so it's kind of rare to find somebody that's got 20, 30 years behind the chair. And those who do have that, they're very quite proud of it, as they should be, because you reach a level of mastery after about 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. And when you've been cutting hair 20, 30 years, you've got mastery. You've got that. So on average, most random barbers in most random shops, they could do a haircut, like they were taught in school how to do a haircut, but they don't have like a thorough understanding front to back, inside and out of how to deal with a plethora of problems that might pop up with potential head shapes and hair types and textures. And I can remember this one haircut in particular, maybe like 8, 9 years into my career. So this was, over 10 years ago. I remember this one guy came in and he had the most unusual hair texture I'd ever seen. Like it was blonde, but it was coarse and frizzy, like almost like black hair. It threw a curveball at me. Like nothing I knew how to do to style this hair was like working. I wound up just kind of plastering it with pomade. And after cutting his hair a few times, I kind of found a way that worked for him to style it. And I remember a distinct feeling after feeling accomplished that I had managed his hair is I was like, it took me 8, 9 years to have that kind of hair texture even come through here. And it took a few tries with him before he and I were very thrilled with the results. But I felt like Now I can add that to my tool belt. Next time somebody comes in with that texture, I'm going to know how to handle it. And so if you've been cutting hair 2 years, 5 years, there's like curveballs that still haven't come up yet. Furthermore, people who have been cutting hair 2 years, 5 years, 7 years even, chances are their entire career has existed within the span of one trend cycle. Hair trends don't change nearly as fast as you'd think. You see, if you look at posts like hot hair men's hairstyles for 2024, and then you look at hot men's hairstyles for 2025, they're like 5 degrees different from each other. But really, it takes like 10 years before trends are really flipped upside down and different. And so, think back to the shave side, long top, slick back thing that was all the rage from like 2012 to 2022. And now longer styles, kind of like what I'm doing. This is all popular. Everyone's growing their hair out. But point being, if you go get your hair cut by somebody who has spent their entire career within one trend cycle, chances are they're really good at that haircut. But as soon as you need to do something outside of that haircut, they don't have a lot of experience with that. And so when I first started cutting hair, all the rage was like bedhead. It was just messy, seen hair, very texturized. And you can still see in my work today that influence that I baked in right at the beginning of my career. Like I did a lot of messy texturized hair and I never stopped doing that. It kind of like I adapted it and made it a part of my aesthetic. And it's something that I have a pretty firm grasp on because I've been doing it for 21 years now, this kind of texturized look. And then again, 2012 to 2022, it was all about bald fades. Really clean, slick hairstyles were very popular, and I fumbled through it. When it first became popular, I wanted to quit doing hair. It was like, dude, this is really freaking hard. This is not what I trained doing. And I doubted everything for a good 2 years there. I was like, I need to go get a barber's license so I can learn how to fade. I learned how to do a completely different kind of haircut because the trends changed, and I had to learn how to do a completely different kind of haircut. If you're going to somebody who hasn't been cutting hair for 10 years, they probably haven't been forced through that sort of discomfort and the growing pains of evolving with the trends. And so I think that's another big part of the reason if the majority of people out there cutting hair have been doing it for 10 years or less or 5 years or less, again, the average I've seen as little as 3 years. So if you walk into a shop with 10 barbers, 8 or 9 of them in there have only done the same sort of haircut probably for the majority of their career, except for maybe a few outlier clients that might maybe wanted something different. But today, if somebody wants a bald fade, I can do that because I spent 10 years in that trend cycle. And now, again, long hair, flow, that's very popular. And thankfully, I went to cosmetology school. I know how to cut layers. I know how to texturize hair. I know how to blow dry hair. And so I'm not worried about this trend cycle as it shifts now because oh, I know how to do this. I did this 20 years ago. That's another huge factor that it can be hard to find a great barber. Like right now, if you're looking for longer cuts, you're looking for the flow, you're looking for a lived-in organic thing, and you go to a barber who's been cutting hair for 8 years, there's a good chance that for 7 years he was doing bald fades and lineups and killing it and just having a great career. And he might be in that position that I was in when I had to learn bald fades to where it's like, oh crap, things are new and different now. I got to go back to some classes. I think another thing that maybe plays into it is like I've had mentors along the way. I've never done like an official mentorship with a company or a brand or anything. I've never like shadowed somebody long term, but over the years I've swept in barbershops, like volunteered my time to do that just so I could watch them and pick their brains. I've traded lessons with different barbers and stylists, and very early on, Tab Cuts Hair on Instagram, if you look him up, he's a freaking legend. This dude, he had like some high-end training. He's a very, very skilled hairdresser, kills me talent-wise. But very early in my career, I started buying that guy tacos, and he would come to my house and blow dry mannequin heads with me to teach me how to style hair. And so I went out of my way to get some mentors, and a lot of hairstylists do that, but the majority do not. And so if you find yourself with a hairdresser or a barber who's been at it for 4 years, they've never taken on a mentor, they're just doing the one trend that's been cool since right about when they started cutting hair, their experience and their knowledge is like this big compared to what it can be. And so if your hair happens to have a curveball, they might not know how to handle it, how to manage it. So when you think about and stack up all these factors, you could imagine if you walked into a room full of 100 hairdressers and barbers, the majority of them haven't been doing it for very long, haven't been doing more than the same type of hair, one type of haircut for a very long time, probably haven't had a mentor to kind of show them the ropes. And there might be 2 or 3 people in that room who have been doing it for 20 years, who have gone through a bunch of trend cycles, who have mentored under some greats and are probably mentoring others themselves. And so it's like, it's been told to me from the very beginning that this is an industry where 20% of the people make 80% of the money. That's absolutely true, because 20% of the people have all these things just lined up. I've been doing it long enough. I have the training and the experience, and they're the ones that are just crushing it. I've been told, and I've kind of seen this too, like if you go sit in a mall, if that's even a thing anymore, if you stop everybody who has great hair and ask them where they get it cut, you're going to start to find that most people in your area that have great hair are all going to the same person. And that person probably has been doing hair for 20 years, probably had a mentor at some point, probably remembers what it was like when this trend was cool and when that trend was cool before it. That's kind of what you want to look for. If you want to find like a really, really freaking good hairstylist, look for those things. Well, let me actually add one final thing here. Like, it sounds like I'm saying don't go to somebody without experience. It sounds like I'm saying don't go to somebody who's new. I'm not saying that at all. Please, 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 I hope you made it to this point in the video before like going to the angry comments. If you're getting the trendy cool haircut, absolutely there are people who've been cutting hair for 6 months who can do the trendy cool haircut perfectly. There are unicorns out there. Some people like don't learn how to cut hair for 5-6 years even after they get out of school. Some people know how to cut hair before they even get into school. Of all the things I'm saying here, yes, there are unicorns, and your barber might be one of them. And even if somebody hasn't cut hair through a bunch of trend cycles, they could be perfectly capable of killing me or anyone else when it comes to the current trend. I mean, I still look at some of these sort of TikTok fluffy bang kind of haircuts, and I kind of like draw a blank. I'm like, I don't even know exactly how I'd cut that. But I see guys who have 2 years experience who are crushing it at that look. And so I'm not saying don't go to somebody if they don't have 20 years experience. Don't go to somebody if they didn't do the bedhead in 2003. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if the person you've been going to isn't able to give you what you want, you might want to look for somebody with these other types of credentials, so to speak. I hope this was informative. I hope it gives you kind of a clearer idea about why so many random average barbers might not be hitting the mark for you. And I hope it just gives you some clarity moving forward, trying to get your hair up to make you happy, to be thrilled with your hair. Thanks for watching.